One thing that I really love about TikTok in particular is that it's really accepting of people's, just anything that we might have that might make us look different than others. And I think that it has been a very positive place for people that have acne or that have, urticaria or that have vitiligo or any kind of skincare issue. Still, there's filters there, and there's filters everywhere. I have a feeling you have something to say about this.
I do. So I think that social media is amazing, especially in a pandemic when everyone's locked down. It's amazing to be a tool for connection. But at the same time, when it comes to filters or Photoshop, I think that it can be a weapon and a tool, just like a hammer, right? We can build something great with a hammer, but if we use it to smash someone over the head, it's a weapon. And I think that the same thing goes for these filters. If we are creating digital art or manipulating something, we're bringing out the best version of ourselves. But if we are looking to that filter to tell us what beauty is, we're kind of losing the essence of what it is to define our own beauty, as opposed to just kind of surrendering to what society says is beautiful. And even in medical, clinics and settings, I'm sure you've had this experience where someone brings in a photo, not just of a celebrity and they want that nose, or not just someone and they want that skin, but they're actually bringing in filtered versions of themselves.
Oh yeah, and they'll say, "Can I look like this?" Yeah,
but that's not the goal.
Yeah, but and I do feel that this has always kind of gone on to some level. I mean, back when I was younger, it was magazines. Everybody would look so gorgeous, and then lo and behold, later you would realize that they're Photoshopped. But now we can actually literally Photoshop ourselves. And sometimes I'll look back on my videos 5 years ago. Gosh, I look so good then. What happened? And then you realize oh my gosh, it's because I filtered myself. And I feel like it can be very dangerous to people, especially at certain ages. I mean, it can be dangerous to many people maybe throughout their life. It's just sort of how you have to really think of it really realistically. And it's sort of part of the way the world is run right now. I don't think it's going to change, unfortunately. You just have to know the difference between fact and fiction.
Fact and filter. And I think you're right. It's one of those things that it can be dangerous, especially if we are basing our worth simply off of our beauty, right? Here I was, in the 6th grade struggling with my acne, and I thought the only thing I was good for was what I looked like, not what I could do for the world, what I could learn from others, what I could contribute. And if we start to see our value as people outside of our physical appearance, that starts to help. But that's really hard when we take on the world face first, right?
Yeah.
Why do we put on makeup in the morning? Why do we, care about our skin? Is it because we're fascinated by, pores and what happens inside of our sebaceous glands? Or is it because, we're trying to feel good when we walk out?
That's not what we're just thinking about. Yes.
That's what I think about in the morning.
I get that question all the time as a dermatologist.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's, I suppose it's just life. That's what makes life complicated, and it can be really depressing, but also really interesting and exciting. And I think it's the way in which you sort of address it, or you think about it. But yeah, it is tough. I think it's here to stay though, and so what do? We gotta embrace it.
That's actually a question for you as a dermatologist and an expert who's done this for so many years. You've seen so many patients who have anything from skin conditions that we could categorize as more normal versus those that are severely abnormal and really, causing harm to someone's daily quality of life. If there's someone who's struggling with their skin and they're relying on these filters to feel confident on social media, but they can't go outside, what do you as a dermatologist recommend to them? How do you help a patient get over that?
Well, I think that the interesting thing about dermatology is that it has just as much to do with psychology as it does with dermatology, with skin conditions, because most skin conditions are not life-threatening. And they have one of the main reasons that people come in to see you is because they don't like the way that it looks. The way that I address it is just trying to do whatever I can to make people, it's not even so much look better, but feel better about themselves. And that's really what it is. One good example is there's a lot of people that come in with acne scar or something that they look at, and first of all, that they're using a 20x mirror. They're looking at something that nobody else can see. And one of the questions that I may ask them is, okay, do you actually, when you go places, do people point this out to you? Do they go, what is that on your cheek? Because it bothers them all so much, and they think that everybody does. And then I've seen that so many times where this little kind of light bulb goes off, and they think, you know what? Nobody does say anything to me, because even your good friends, your family members, they probably would say something because they don't realize that you might take it the wrong way, you know, or think that it's a negative thing, and just point it out. There's a lot of conditions that are exacerbated by stress and you know, anxiety, and a lot of that, it's all this sort of circle where they're anxious about their skin, and then that causes their skin to get worse, and then they're more anxious about it. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of managing that.
When it comes to patients who come to see you, so many are concerned about their skin, but it sounds like the deeper underlying issue is self-esteem, or the mental health aspects surrounding what we look like and how we present ourselves to the world. As a dermatologist who helps so many people, what would you advise someone who's struggling with the way their skin makes them look and feel?
What I try to give people is a sense of control. I mean, if you feel helpless about something, that you feel like there's nothing that I can do to make this better, then it's almost like you want to give up, right? So if I can give people tools to really, or some sort of ammunition to do something that can actually make a difference, I mean, that's going to be the best answer for them. Being able to make decisions in your life is really going to make a difference. You look beautiful now, and I'm sure you were beautiful back then, but you didn't feel beautiful.
Very true.
Right. So what kind of toll did it have on you? You must have had quite a mental toll.
For me, I think that the mental health aspects and the bullying from others as well as myself, that was probably the worst part of having acne. Because yes, you know, 70 to 85, 90% of my face, chest, and back were covered in pimples, but it wasn't actually the pimples that bother me. Yeah, they would itch sometimes, or, you know, I remember vividly sitting down at the high school bleachers for a football game. I was wearing a white shirt. Last day I ever wore a white shirt to school because all of my back pimples had popped. And as I was walking away, people were pointing at me and they're like, oh, it's Pussy Cassie. And that makes you feel disgusting, right? But what was worse is that when I went home that day, they probably went home and didn't think twice about it. I kept replaying these things in my mind. And that mental aspect of, I'm a walking infection, or I really am pizza face, or I'm a disease, that's what made me hate the way I looked, want to cover it up so much. And thankfully, eventually, it brought me to your YouTube videos and studying the medical side of skincare and understanding those things. But for some people who don't have that sense of control or that sense of...
But see, you were doing that. You were taking control. You were trying to do something to make this better. And that was the thing, right? That's what... And you can feel responsible for making things better. And that's also really...
Yes, I think it's also hope and community, though. Seeing someone else who's done it, or seeing someone who had rhinophyma and they found a dermatologist who could treat it properly, seeing that someone else was able to overcome their condition or just live with it, I think is so empowering. We've even seen, you know, models who have vitiligo, or other people who have embraced their burns and their scars. And how fulfilling is that, to see someone who doesn't fit the societal expectation of beauty, but is beautiful beyond belief because of the confidence that they have been able to pull out of that. And that's what I love social media for.
And you're a wonderful role model for a lot of these younger people. Yeah, because they can see, if she can do it, I can do it too, right?
You see, I even have this little scar on my cheek. From pimple popping, which you should never do at home. And
so you watch the videos instead now to try to distract you.
Oh, of course. I'm a popaholic, just not on myself. That's why I'm a medical esthetician under the scope of a practice of a dermatologist. I do it for others. No, but I for the longest time was thinking, you know, I should Clear and Brilliant, or I should, you know, CO2 this, you know, this acne scar. And I was like, you know, I'm just going to embrace it. I'm going to let him sit there. I'm going to embrace these acne scars because this isn't what defines me, right?
Yes, absolutely. Interestingly, like, I see this all the time. What made me realize what a big impact acne has on people is seeing my patients, and I'll have adults that come in, and the moment their kid has an acne bump, they will bring them in. And you know it's because they had to deal with it. This little kid might have like a couple blackheads. And you know, though, that this is because the parent had to struggle with this. And so you understand what a big impact that had on their life.
Yeah. My younger cousin actually went through something so similar. My cousin is one of my best friends. And when she started rock climbing and auditioning for Cirque du Soleil, the stress as well as the sweat would contribute to acne. And she wasn't concerned about it, but her mom was, my auntie. And what was so funny is that my auntie now watches your YouTube videos because just the cathartic nature of watching something else get popped, it's like this release for some people. And it's been so wonderful because she no longer has to hyper-focus on what her daughter is going through. there are other ways to relieve that stress or anxiety.
Right. You're really doing some wonderful things because you're helping people to understand it's not just them. And that's one of the great things about social media, right?
Yeah.
So that people know that they're not alone, that there are other people that are going through the same thing.
Exactly. Or even just seeing someone embrace, their flaws as features. Right. I think it is so wonderful. And it's like, oh, well, in my real life, I can't say that I know 5 people with vitiligo or a burn victim. And being able to see that on social media, I can say, wow, they're beautiful, they're gorgeous, they're powerful in their own essence. And social media allows us to connect in that way, which I think is wonderful.